Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. So today I've been asked to make for a camera bag a little pouch with 2 zip pockets and an open pocket in the middle. Now I have the measurements, so I have my fabric cut out already. I don't need it to be lined and I don't need to worry about the seams. I just need to worry about sewing the zips in this half, the zips in this half, and leaving this pocket open. Okay? Very simple make. So I'm going to show you how to reduce the size of your zips because I haven't got zips the right size. I know, which is going to happen sooner or later. It's very easy to buy standard size zips, isn't it? Just nod and agree with that one. So I've got my 2 bits of fabric and these are measured to fit the bag. So I have my zip and I want to sew the zip on this side so that it opens out ready, and I need to sew it just on the inside there, and I'm going to ignore this bit of zip. Now in a way this video might be easier to understand if I cut off that zip, just cut off that excess, but I'm not. I'm going to keep that bit of excess and I'm going to place it open. It's so much easier to sew zips when they're open. Alright, I'm going to cast on, as it were. I'm going to place it all in my sewing machine. I'm actually going to move my needle so it's on the middle so I can get a nice clean edge. A couple of reverse stitches so I know exactly where I am. And there we go, I'm going to sew. Now I'm going to stop 1/4 of an inch before the end of the fabric, so I've got that as my hem allowance. A couple more reverse stitches just to make the zip really nice and secure. Now that's easy enough, isn't it? Easy enough. I'm now going to place my fabric over the top and I'm going to mark where this zip finishes. So I've got those thoroughly lined up and I can either mark it tinily with a marker pen or one of those fancy pens, and then that's great. So I now need to do exactly the same. I've got my zip lined up, I've got my fabric the right way round so that when we're finished it will be showing like that, and I can then start sewing. But it's quite important to get everything lined up, and if it doesn't go right first time, don't start sewing because otherwise you'll just have to unpick it and that's horrible. Double check, make sure I've left my hem allowance again. I'm going to give my fabric a couple of reverse stitches and away I go. Alright, done. Okay. Now I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So I've got my first zip. Now I don't need to measure this because I am coming off the fabric. And if it looked asymmetrical, it would be better. So if that needed measuring, then that needed measuring. But I know that I need to take off that much of the zip to make it asymmetrical, or I need to know the measurements of the things that I want to store in the bag. So same again, make sure I've got my hem allowance and then I sew. Okay, if you have your bobbin thread caught up in your foot, which is something I am guilty of, there we go. Couple of reverse stitches. Alright, so same again, next piece of cloth, and I can then line it up so that it's all ready to go. Okay. Lovely, lovely. Now I'm measuring where I started the zip on the first one and I'm marking it on the fabric, which is going to be on the fold, so that's fine. I need my fabric right side up, and I need to place it on my fabric. So there we are, we're all lined up, right side up, and there's my zip. And it is a bit, it all feels a bit twisted at this stage, but it's so much easier to sew the zip on first and then sew the bag. So away I go. Couple of reverse stitches, just going to double check that everything looks about right, and then I can, yeah, this is why we always say double check, double check, double check. Because what I've done is I've sewn it upside down. So let's pull that off. And back to the mark, right way round. Making sure that I'm not catching anything underneath, anything like that. Alright. So, come on, machine. Don't be shy. Brilliant. Okay, so all I need to do now is I need to hem the middle pocket. That's easy enough, and in fact it wants to be hemmed. It's sitting quite happily with these two zips over the fold. And then put them down. And in a way I suppose I could have done it all in one go, but whee! Okay, I'm just going to lift that up. Just going to refred my machine. Alright, I'm going to pause camera. Okay, welcome back. So I've refreaded my machine, don't know how I did that. A couple of stitches. Just join those up together. Same again on the other side. Fold it over, make sure my zip is got enough room to sit outside, and then around we go. So welcome back. Okay, now I'm just lining these up here. Now you're okay to sew over a zip, it's fine. You can't sew over these metal tags, that's no-go. But this bit you can just sew over it, so we don't need to worry. But I'm more concerned with about lining everything else up. All I'm doing now is I'm sewing around the outside, come to the bottom, make sure my foot is down, just so that I don't lose my line of thread. I'm going straight again. And there we go. Just going over the zip again, it's not a problem. No problem. There we are. So, one thing I did do is I left it open, the zip slightly, just so I could turn it inside out. Turning it the right way around. Popping my corners, just because I can. Now, it's really up to you. What you can now do is top stitch around, and then you're incorporating a sort of pattern into the outer garment. But also what you're doing is you're now hiding those seams. And if you're very careful and lucky, you can push that zip into the corner so it's out of the way. It doesn't matter if you sew over the zip, but that metal tag we really do have to be careful with. So it's kind of like a visible French seam. But then we don't have to work out our insides and our outsides. I'm going to whiz down the bottom and and while I'm sewing, maybe I can make sure my corners are nicely pushed out. So there we go, and I can feel where the seam is, so I can give myself loads and loads of license there. Alright, so we're up to the corner, pushing it round, and there we go. I can feel it there, well out of the way, and then I can go up to the top. Again, if I sew over the zip, it's not a problem. It's no problem. Okay. So, now what I need to do is I need to do my pockets. So, I'm going to make sure this is tidy. I can even just take some scissors. That's where my bobbin ran out. Make sure those two are together, and I could do it by even putting a pin in there. So, it just depends. And all I need to do is seal these in, but I do need to seal them in right at the end there. So I've got my little zip ends, and away I go. The same again, and this time it's a bit more obvious because I've got my zip head. I can open that, but I do need to be careful of my metal bits there. So a couple of stitches. Okay. And away I go. Watching the zip heads, sewing onto the zip so that the pocket is secure. Alright, that's me done. Now, one of the things that's good, if you do get a chance to tidy up your cotton threads before you start sewing, yeah, because I don't know how I've managed to do that. Yeah, alright, there we are. So, I have my pocket in the middle for non-valuable stuff. Quite handy, easy to get out. If we were going to put a phone in there or something, then we can find it again. And sometimes it gets a bit like that. If you're a lady and you have a large handbag, you know exactly where I'm speaking. And I've got my pockets here with my seam neatly tucked in. So, okay, thanks ever so much for watching and joining me on this make for my own home.